Do you want to learn how to time the markets? Join me and Ryan Mastro Wednesday after the close, where we're going to show you how to navigate through the breakdowns and the breakouts. Click the link to sign up for this free webinar. We'll see you at 4 o'clock Eastern at the close on Wednesday. Good morning. I'm Pete Najarian. This is The Take on this Tuesday morning. It's a busy day, so we're going to get through this nice and quickly. Yesterday, we started off strong. Things looked pretty good. We were looking at the Dow. It's actually moving to the upside, and it looked pretty strong, a couple hundred points. Next thing you know, as we got closer and closer to the noon hour, we just started to slide, and we slid the entire way, all the way down to close down 250 points yesterday on the Dow. Similar sort of a path with the NASDAQ. The NASDAQ started off, it was kind of wishy-washy going back and forth. It lifted a little bit early on. It was up almost 100 points. And then that gave up as well towards the latter half, the last 3 hours of the trading session, just getting hit to the downside, finishing down over 90 points to the downside. So what does that tell us about the volatility index? Well, we were anywhere between 18 and 20 and a half, and there's where we closed, right around 20. So on the upper end of what was the range yesterday, with about 34 million contracts being traded. A little disappointing considering the day and some of the movement that we had and some of the shifting within sectors. And I'll give you a couple of great examples. Financials looked pretty decent early with the 10-year trading right around 161. They looked decent. They gave it up. A lot of different other sectors were started off okay and then started to just leak as we got deeper and deeper into the session. As a matter of fact, take a look at what happened with JP Morgan yesterday, down about 2%. Now, that was a stock that actually looked decent early on, started to sell off. Goldman Sachs started to sell off. That was down a couple of percent. You got Global Payments was down 5%. GPN, that's another one of these names in the financial world. So a lot of different movement that we were seeing. Financials definitely under pressure. Semiconductors also under pressure. NXPI yesterday was down a couple of percent. You look across at a lot of the different semiconductors, and as the day was going on, some of the movement that we had there as well, very, very strong movement. Tell you what, hung in there pretty well. Didn't close anywhere near the highs of the day, but Freeport-McMoRan, we've been talking about FCX for a long time. We've been talking about copper prices, EV, that whole sector of the electronic vehicles. That really is pulling in the demand for copper. Well, it was up as much as over 6% yesterday, finished up still about 3% to the upside, but not nearly as strong as it looked like it was starting to become earlier in the session. So as we move on to today, and today the markets have just been in a very tight range, but up and down like a yo-yo like I haven't seen in a long period of time. Matter of fact, the Dow starts off the day up about 40 or so points. NASDAQ up about 50. NASDAQ's been a little bit quieter. It hung in there about 50. It kind of gave that up, got towards flat. They got a little bit more into the negative territory and then bouncing around between up and down 20. On the other hand, you look over at the Dow actually was up as much as 75 points. It's been down as much as about 60 or 70 points. And the movement has been extreme. Every moment I refresh, I continue to see the markets in a different spot than I did just minutes before. So that's kind of where we are. But let's not forget where the Dow is as an entity, as an ETF. As it sits there, we are looking at something that this index is in a very, very tight range, given the size of the index itself. So yes, we're seeing some movement, but it's just back and forth a little bit. 57,000 is where we're seeing the Bitcoin pricing yesterday and today. A little bit of pressure on that today, however, but you look over at the Dow, what was leading early on? You had some nice calls. You had Nike, one of those. Actually had some commentary from one of the analysts out there, very bullish. That stock was traded very nice early on, along with Salesforce and along with Home Depot. Home Depot, a stock that not too terribly long ago, there was some folks out there that kind of brought down that price target. But in my opinion, that made some sense. But the fact that the stock needed to go any lower did not. And I'm looking at that PE still of Home Depot, still makes a lot of sense to me. I look over at Moderna, and I look at Okta, and I look at Netflix, and I look at a lot of these different names, the opening and the closing names and all that kind of thing. It really is interesting to see who the leadership is each and every day, depending on what sort of the news sources are each and every day. I got to point out this as well. MGM. Well, I know that we already talked about it. It was up 3.5% early. It was up as much as 7%. And why is that? Because somebody traded the price or changed their price target. One of the analysts changed their price target from 33 to 68. Well, to give you a little idea, we had this for unusual option activity on Friday on the halftime report. Stock was trading around 45. They were buying the 44. So they wanted leverage. They wanted to be able to buy almost like what's going to move with stock. And that's exactly what they're getting as results today. But that's not the end of it. And by the way, casinos themselves all trading very, very nicely today. I was just taking a look at Caesars and Wynn and all the various names, Las Vegas Sands, Penn, all having a pretty decent day. But by far, MGM having the best day of these names. Just absolutely an explosive move to the upside. And why? Because not only did that analyst commentary come out, but we had even more buying. So stock was trading 45 just the other day on Friday. Now it's trading a little over 47. We had a buyer of almost 5,000 October 46 calls, exact type of same trade, buying an in-the-money call, which will move with the stock at a much better pace. If you know the Greeks, you're talking about Delta, but that's how this is going to play out. So something a little bit closer to moving like stock. That's what we're seeing. 45 cents up to about $1.50 for those options on that October 46 strike. Stock was trading 47. So some of that is actual in the money, and the rest of it is just a little bit of air as we're watching that name. Secondly, TJX. Now, this is a name that I've been watching for a really long time, looking for any kind of catalysts out there. As I walk through stores each and every day, people know about what I do with my boots on the ground and all the rest of that. I will tell you this, stock was trading 63.50, buyer of 10,000 October 64 call. So again, keeping it very short term, not going out too far in time, not too far, at least in these two examples. But I will tell you, this is a pretty decent sized trade for TJX. We see this once in a great while. About 50 cents is what they paid for these 64 calls. Can the stock can get up and move? It certainly can. Will it? That's something we'll be watching. So that'll be very interesting. Tomorrow, after the close, we've got a great treat for you. You've got to sign up early, but myself and Ryan Master will be talking to each other back and forth. And how do we trade some of this momentum? How do we trade the unusual option activity? That is what he and I are going to be discussing tomorrow. And as a matter of fact, it's going to be quick on my part because I've got to do the 5 o'clock show tomorrow as well with Fast Money with Melissa Lee and the gang. So I'm going to be doing that and then jumping over and doing the other. So that'll be a very, very interesting, but we're going to hit it fast. We're going to hit it hard. And Ryan always does an outstanding job explaining all of the ins and outs of this. You're going to not want to miss this one. You're going to want to make sure that you sign up for this one. I'm Pete Najarian, folks. Have a great day of trading.